Hello, astrology friends. This is Lada from Astrolada.com, and I thank you so much for choosing me to lead you through the energies of 2024. This is a great honor for me. This is my biggest work every year. I put all my heart in it. I purify, cleanse, pray, research, and hopefully those horoscopes or this horoscope will be useful for you. This is the introduction to show you how to use those videos and to give you some moral directions so you are not freaked out or scared or put astrology like the end for everything, or that is the most important thing. No, we have free will. But first, how do you use this video? I always advise you, if you know your time of birth, to find out your ascendant sign, your moon, and your sun sign. Your sun sign, most of you know it. When you say, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Gemini, that's your sun sign, the month you were born in. What sign was the sun in when you were born, which stays for a month. But you see, everyone in the same month is the same sign like you. Your moon sign and the sun sign is a lot more to do with free will. So looking at your horoscope from the sun sign will give you an idea about the things you actually want, your free will, what your spirit wants, and how the more rational approach, and also a lot about career. In the ancient past times, astrologers never looked at the sun sign when looking at the horoscope from the sun sign, because the sun was the father only and God. But nowadays, more and more, we have free will and we make our own decisions, especially in the last few hundred years, the Western society as well, and the more developed, there is more free will. So the sun sign really does work. But then you have the moon sign, where the moon is in what sign it is when you were born. And the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. You can find out your moon sign. You need to know your day, place, birth, place of birth, approximate time. The moon sign horoscope feels even more personal. And it's because it changes much faster, it's more personal. It shows your personality in this lifetime. It shows how you're conditioned from past lifetimes. There's a bit less free will there. So often the events there are a bit more set in motion, more set in stone a little bit, but we always have free will. And the moon is our soul and how we emotionally react. And most especially women or more sensitive men will definitely feel the prediction from their moon sign, because many times there might be things happening to us objectively around, but if it's not affecting our moon, we're not going to experiencing it so emotionally. And whatever affects our moon, this is what becomes truly the focus. So whatever our feelings are, that's where all the energy goes. So it's so important, the moon sign. Or people who are born at night, before the sun rose or after the sunset, like I'm born, they would react very strongly to their moon sign because they're ruled by the moon. Or people born during the day, from sunrise till sunset, they would react more strongly to the sun as well. But the moon will definitely show you, especially for women and people born at night, more sensitive, intuitive people, what is the focus of the year for them. And the ascendant sign is where most astrologers look at the horoscope, because this is the most set in stone. The ascendant sign changes every 2 hours. This is very, very, so people born in the same month with you will have the same sun. In the same 2.5 days with you, the same moon. But how you will be different from them is that every 2 hours, or sometimes every hour, the ascendant sign changes. This is what sign is on the horizon when you were born. So the ascendant sign is the most personal sign. It's the most specific for your incarnations. And it's the one that is directly related to the lessons you have to learn in this incarnation, from past lifetime connection as well. So the ancients and modern astrologers would always check first the sun, the ascendant sign or rising sign, like we call it. But you need to know your time of birth within 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes at least, correctly. Time and minute, the hour and the minute. So go to astro.com or to Astrolada. I have a birth chart calculator. Put your details, preferably if you know your time of birth, that's the best. And then go to the table below all the charts and write the sign and the degree and the minute of every sun, moon, or ascendant sign, of your sun, moon, and ascendant. And if you buy a package of videos, always start with the ascendant, give priority to it. Then if you're day born to the sun, if you're night born to the moon, or even if you're like me, born at the night, but you have a stellium, which means many planets in the same sign as your sun, that will be very potent predictions for you. But always the ascendant is the main one to look, because it's the most material results that you see. From the ascendant is definitely, because the ascendant is the physical body, the point of incarnation of the soul into the body. So it will give you the most practical material results. The moon, the most psychologically visible ones. And the sun, especially if you're born during the day, will have a few other planets in the same sign. Again, especially for what you want to see and experience and what your free will can achieve now. So write the sign. It's always like it says sun or ascendant, sun, moon. Write the sign and the degree. And then when you're watching the video of either your sun, moon, or ascendant, I will be mentioning when what I'm talking about is for the whole sign, or whether for specific degrees. And every time we're giving you a PDF, on this PDF, you'll be having the degrees that will be very important for you next year. When you hear your degree mentioned, maybe I'll notice, maybe I'll say Mercury will become retrograde from 15 Gemini from 15 Aries to 30 Aries. And if I say, if you are Cancer sun, well, if you're watching the video for Cancer, for example, and I mentioned from 15 till 30 degrees Cancer, Mercury will square your sun or moon or ascendant, and this is what it means. Then really pay attention for when it is and what I'm talking about. You're gonna feel that. So when you hear your specific degrees, that will be strongly felt. When I speak more generally, it will be more like the background at which your life is developing, the general background of the consciousness for this year. But when I mention specific degrees, guys, open your eyes. And sometimes one planet will affect 1 degree. For example, Uranus can affect just the last 3 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio this year, and Aquarius, while Pluto will affect just the first 2 degrees of those signs. So not everyone will be affected with specific degrees. Maybe you should be lucky, It's kind of like, no planets will be impelling you or compelling you to do something. But, so listen when I mention your specific degrees. This will be the most important thing. And now that you know how to use this video, I just want to tell you something. Don't make astrology your idol. I've been doing astrology for 20 years now. Can't explain to you how much worries and stress at the first 10, 15 years I was doing it, every time fearing a transit, every time over expecting from a good transit, fearing a bad transit. Don't. It's a waste of energy. And I try to give you both. And always when I expect something, I get surprised. I expect like this, something very different happens, again within the same energy of the planet that is activating you. So I try to explain to you the energy of each planet. Just like Pluto can be psychological transformation, it can be big release of traumatic events from the past. It can be total change of your shading of your skin and transformation, but it can be power struggles. It can be being betrayed on the lower level. I try to mention all the possibilities, but I don't want you to get fixated on the negative ones. Actually we have free will, and I've noticed it over and over, and how the planets manifest depends on your free will. And that means that, say you're starting a Pluto transit, like I said, if you know that there will be possibility for more power struggles, having more fierce existential, fight or flight responses, more dread sometimes, I tell you what is the higher vibration, so there is ways for you to channel this energy, actually to help with the cleansing and with the detoxification of the body that Pluto wants to do, and the soul and the feelings. So I give you I give you advice and remedies for everything. If you take it in your hands, if you don't get overwhelmed, even if sometimes difficult things happen, you're going to, use it to your highest ability. But you don't even need to know astrology. People intuitively know in such situations what to do, or people with good hearts, people that are more psychically in tune, people that are kind, that are connected to source. They don't need astrology. No matter what comes, why should you, maybe astrology is more to give you direction. What are the right things to do this year? What are the things to maybe avoid? That's how you use it. Not so much as, oh, I'm going to get sick. Oh, I'm going to separate with a partner. Don't. God always has the best in mind for you. Your higher self always leads you to the best path. Usually when big dramas happen, because it's a person has taken on the wrong path. It's because a person is not making efforts. You don't have to be like a monk, live prayers and give your riches away or whatever. You need to be a decent human being. And most of the people on the planet are decent human beings who are trying every day to help those they love and those around them, to be of use to others, to be helpful to others in some way, and who are trying not to succumb to the temptation so much, And if there is even an ounce of you trying to be a little bit of a better person, a little bit not to those weak things, whether it's bad habits, whether it's to talk about others behind their back, or to, something, or to judge others. Every day when you're trying to stop from such things, it's not big efforts, it's just consistent. You're already living in an energy of self-improvement. You're being a decent, good being. And usually, all the transits, even the hardest ones, they're reworked to something really good. It's good to know when there is a more difficult period why, and Saturn transit of things. God, I thought I'm depressed. Like I've been depressed for 2 years and I thought I'll always be like that. It's just temporary. That gives you peace of mind and hope. But always know, whatever is in the stars, God is above everything else. The sphere of the entities and the angelic hierarchies and the Christ energy is above it all. So when you have a strong connection and love, it always will work out for the best. And it always, you can even reverse anything that is being said, anything that might happen. But of course, you reverse it by having awareness and connection by prayer with Christ or with the higher powers, and by making daily little efforts to be a better person. And the easiest ways, do little kinds of acts of kindness to others. Try to be of use to others. Try to be kind with them, to be tolerant to them. Then honestly, even the hardest transits work out for the best for you. And the good transits, they're really good. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope let's do a little prayer to begin, to bless everyone. Thank you for everyone. And I call on the higher powers, on the Christed energy, on the angelic hierarchies, on the higher self of everyone, on their departed loved ones, to protect everyone who is here, to help them hear the information that will uplift their spirit, that will prepare them, not only prepare them, but help them realize they have free will to do the highest and most positive manifestation of whatever comes their way. Let this information that flows through those videos be directly connected to the high hierarchies and give answers to everyone involved here, so that everyone can come out after watching those videos a better human being, more optimistic, more hopeful, prepared for whatever it's come, with wisdom, with excitement, with passion, to believe in themselves more. And everyone who's been in touch with this information to improve as a human being. Amen. Let's start. Sagittarius Sun, Moon, Rising 2024. Sagittarius, let's start with the slowest moving planet that affects you the whole year. And that gives you the most important, let's say, evolutionary goals and lessons in the year 2025. And this is always the planet Saturn. And since March 2023, Saturn has entered your 4th house and basically will stay there for another 2 years. And Saturn, as we know, is more of the hard taskmasters, where some of the more challenging lessons for us are. And if you pay attention, you see, when Saturn was in your sign, was about 7 years, 8 or 6 for some of you, Saturn started a new cycle. So maybe some challenge happened then, some difficult period or some new beginnings that happened, which now will be the first opening square for them. You see, it's like a 90-degree square. So there is like the need now to rethink this year and even into 2025 what was started years ago, whether it needs some corrective action, whether it needs some change of direction, for example, whether it needs some removing of the unnecessary and redefining in some way. These are some of the keywords of Saturn. And Saturn will specifically affect those Sagittarius which are from 3 till 20 degrees in 2024, because these are the degrees that Saturn is moving and it's going to square. So if you have your Sun, Moon or Ascendant 3 till 20 degrees, you'd feel the Saturn square very strongly. Some of you might not necessarily feel it as it's from the 4th house, which I'll speak in after that for all Sagittarius. They just might feel the square of Saturn, which means that there is a test of something in their life. With the Moon, it might be more of an emotional nature, with family, with relationships, with personal life, with property, home, with how you feel emotionally, and of course depends if the Moon is in certain house for you, it will be according to that house. With the Sun, it might be in regards to your goals, to your career, to your direction in life, in regards towards important men, that Saturn will do some corrective measures, some testing, some removing of the unnecessary. If it's your Ascendant in Sagittarius, Saturn will do some corrective measures in regards to health as well, in regards to relationships, because the Ascendant axis is connected to relationships as well. And it can be some corrective actions in regards to the direction in life that you've taken, because the Ascendant shows you the direction that you're going towards. So with Saturn square Sun, Moon or Ascendant, you might find that things are a little bit slower at times, that you need to measure 3 times, and cut just once. You need to follow the rules, because if you tried to go around the rules, Saturn has very quick way of bringing back karma. So when you have Saturn transits, you have to do the hard work. You cannot use shortcuts. You cannot bury your head in the sand like an ostrich and try not to see it coming, because you'd feel tangible results, tangible hits that you need to go and sort out. So you need to get down to work for some of you. You need to fix something. You need to improve something. You need to downsize something. You need to maybe reorganize, restructure something, because Saturn has a restructuring influence. And if you're from 3 till 20 degrees in Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, it's good for you to apply this year the power of no. But especially if you are from the degrees 12 till 20, Saturn will square you for the first time in 2024. The previous degrees 3 till 10 approximately, they felt it in 2023 already. But it will finish for them after the first 3-4 months, at most, the first 3 months of the year. While those 12 to 20 degrees, they would feel it full on from, let's say, from the 3rd month of the year on till the end. So remember, with Saturn, follow the rules. Some kind of authority might appear. It might be your inner authority that is more critical, that is more strict on you. It might be a different authority that you have to take into consideration. But again, with Saturn, when Saturn is affecting you directly, those degrees, especially 12 till 20, you might have to deal with some bureaucratical things, with the laws of the earth. This is not just human laws, but the laws of the earth, the laws of gravity, the laws of, on earth things break down, on earth things need effort. They don't happen fast. So if you if you have a down-to-earth approach already, if you don't expect miracles without effort, you do very well. If you're used to putting efforts, to looking at your mistakes, recognizing them and fixing them and going towards trying to fix them, if you're used to the power of self-denial, because Saturn is the power to say no. Saturn is the power to restrict, to deny yourself something. We know that Saturn is the power to delay instant gratification because of later goals. So if you don't have those qualities, it might be quite a tough time, because Saturn, but it might be time when you are developing them as well, because Saturn, it's especially hard, well, for people that are younger, usually Saturn transits, or even if you're not younger, if you're too wild, too not able to control yourself and contain yourself, Saturn transits are hard. But people that are responsible, that are mature, that follow the rules, I'm not saying sheep, but I'm saying people that know that things on earth, that it needs foundation, building, it's like to build a house, you need so many things, so many hurdles to jump over. You need building permits, you need foundation building, you need plans, you need everything to apply to different administrations and so on. And I'm giving it as I'm not saying you'll be building a house, even though it's possible with Saturn in the 4th house. I'm just saying that it's you cannot just magically, you need to go step by step, and even if there's some frustrating influences, to know that it takes time to build a house, to build the foundations. But the final results will be, once they're done, will be long-lasting, will be visible, will be stable and enduring. So anything, whether it's you're working on some career, I'm talking specifically those degrees, 3 till 20 that Saturn is squaring. You need to show this perseverance and following the rules and having to correct something, having to make something smaller, rather than spread yourself too thinly, because Saturn likes to diminish. So let me give you a few examples of a few early Sagittarius that Saturn already in 2023 affected. One of them is a friend of mine, a colleague, Natalia, psychologist. This was the time when Saturn squared her sun in Sagittarius, where she really started losing weight because she applied the power of no, the power of consistency. This is also Saturn. She started going to the gym every day. She started really, for the first time in years, she got to her ideal shape. So these are some of the things Saturn can help you do, even with a square, to be more organized. But she also said, I'm going to cut down on working time because I've been working too hard for years. So Saturn makes you reconsider and reprioritize what is important for you. So she said, I'm going to cut down. So I'm going to work maybe 2 hours less per day so I can have more time for important other things like sports, like taking care of myself and so on. So these are some of the things, and there was also, she went through a divorce and a big restructuring because it's on the axis of the ascendant, her sun and the ascendant are there on Sagittarius axis. So she went even through a divorce, restructuring of her personal life. But she says like her life is super on track because she applied the power of Saturn. Make something smaller, be more organized, be more practical, work on things harder, be consistent, do every day a little bit, but consistently. So these are, and then it can give great results. But fully for all Sagittarius, doesn't matter if you're the first degrees that I told you till 20 or no, Saturn is in your 4th house. So what does it mean? And Saturn will be there almost till 2026. It means, and some of you are feeling it already, others will feel it now in 2024, others a bit later. Saturn can bring more responsibilities with home, with family, or more focus on your personal life, on your soul. I had another Sagittarius rising friend who, while Saturn started transiting the 4th sign from her ascendant, she went very deep into family healing trauma with a psychologist, because the 4th house, look, it is the bottom. It's this is your foundation. So this is your ancestors, your family, your past history, your inheritance, like vices or inheritance, like spiritual and moral values from family and from previous generations. This is the family karma zone, the family history. So she got very deep working on when Saturn entered her fourth house there from the ascendant. She started very deep dig into her family ancestry and especially into reliving her childhood with a psychologist and learning to forgive her parents. Working, she said it was a painful work, slow work. With Saturn, nothing is easy. But she says it helped her shift her perspective, reorganize, and reimagine almost her relationships with parents and the blame that she used to put on them. She could see things from their perspective and so on. So she did some really deep work. So sometimes when Saturn transits the fourth house from your ascendant, sun, or even from the ascendant moon or even sun, you can be very focused on this kind of the soul, the past history. You might be working hard on ending some ancestral pattern of behavior. Maybe everyone in your family had a drug problem for a few generations or addiction problem. Maybe everyone in your family had some specific health problem that keeps repeating. Maybe everyone in your, not everyone, but maybe your grandmother, and then you had it, and maybe your great-great-granduncle had it. There would be abortions or divorce. These are all things that they can repeat as a storyline. That can be, even in the Bible, it says you carry like the sins of the ancestors of seven, they can be transferred down 4 generations. Let's not call it sins, but let's call it anything that has gone against divine laws. So this is when Saturn goes there, you can become more aware because Saturn makes you more deliberate and it will show you any problems can arise there. So how can Saturn grab your attention so you can start working on the ancestry karma to interrupt some? First of all, to become aware of certain pattern repeating. And second of all, to interrupt it. That's another, because Saturn has the power of no, the power of breaking something. Saturn is depicted as death with the scythe. So it can cut something and end it. But Saturn might get your attention to work in this direction in ways that are not so pleasant sometimes. For example, a complicated family situation, a situation with parents or with extended family where there is some kind of animosity or some problem appears there. And if you think more clearly, you'd realize something happens in the family with someone being problematic, or it happens to you in your personal life. But if you sit down and think deeply, you'd realize that there is a repeating cycle here. You're not the first person in the family that this is happening to, or if it's happened to another member of family, you'd notice that it's not the first time it's happening to them, or it's happened to other members of family. And it's something that almost Saturn gives you the responsibility now to look into deeper and to contribute to some extent. You sometimes can't clear up the whole family karma on your own, but gives you to some extent, because Saturn is the cleaner, to clear up and to interrupt that family repeating pattern, to become aware of those patterns. And as I said, it's not an overnight job. It's not going to be a sudden realization. It will be a slow process because that's the nature of Saturn, how it moves. It might be a process and you might not see the results until Saturn has moved out of your 4th house by 2026 or something. But you might realize that you've done a great service to the family lineage and to yourself, because the 4th house rules the family, but it rules emotional happiness. It's the connection with your soul, and is the connection. And if your soul is hurting, there is no emotional happiness. And sometimes it's something that happened in childhood that you'll be going back, trying to correct or restructure, see it from another perspective. And Saturn is in a very forgiving sign, Pisces. You're being asked to do the hard work, Saturn, of forgiving or letting go something, or dissolving some, which is all words of Pisces, forgiving, letting go, or dissolving something ancestral, something from your childhood, or something connected to your parents. But of course, initially there might be an escalation of problems with parents. Sometimes it's a transit where you might have to take care of a parent, where you have to contribute and do some service to a parent as well. Sometimes it might be a time when you break connections with some family members, especially if there is something manipulative or toxic with them. But if there is need to help a parent, I would tell you that this is very important. Even if the parent has not been kind or good to you, if they're in some financial or health crisis, it's an obligation when Saturn is in the fourth house. And not only then, it's an obligation for the human being and person to help a parent in such a situation. I know a lot of new psychologists says, oh, cut all connections, take them out of your life. There is obligation. They gave us life, at least in difficult moments, even if you're not doing it with all joy. But Saturn here asks you, do your duty, fulfill your obligation, and you can also resolve some of the family heavier karma, or and sometimes there might not be any resentments with family members or anything like that. There might be very light, clean karma with family members. But it might come out in another way. Saturn in the fourth house can be, of course, there is always for almost everyone something that they're working psychologically. As I said, this is very powerful time to work psychologically on your past, reframing the past, even if you don't carry resentments towards family members or patterns from family, which is impossible, everyone does. But sometimes the focus might be actually more consciously when Saturn is in the fourth house on things like property, real estate. You might have more responsibilities with those. For example, when I divorced my ex-husband, Saturn was transiting his fourth house, again squaring the ascendant axis of relationships and so on. But also fourth house was property, real estate, so it stayed on him to sell the property. So for 1 year, when Saturn was right there, he was a bit frustrated because it was going slow, the prices, there was some delay of selling this property. It doesn't mean it cannot happen. Saturn delays but does not deny. It can just create more hoops to jump around, something to correct, to change with the property, and it feels a bit like a burden. So he felt it like he wanted to get rid of it, of the property that we had together, and it was his kind of, so he felt this heavy responsibility in that direction towards that. But eventually it sold while Saturn was still in the fourth house, for a lesser price though, because Saturn can diminish something, a little bit. But I'm telling you one way it played out. Another person that I knew, they were building a house that time. And I told you, building a house is a heavy, long thing. People sometimes think 6 months I'll build it. Sometimes it's 2-3 years period. And when Saturn is in the fourth house, Saturn likes to create something tangible, material. Fourth house is the foundation, home. So this might be the best manifestation of Saturn in the fourth house, like building a property, or dealing, if your career is in real estate, anything to do with hotels, with hospitality, it can just indicate more responsibilities in that career, more focus, maybe more obstacles to solve, but also you create something more solid. There can be more duties, more work that come to you that way if you're in those hospitality sectors, nursing or taking care of little children or the elderly sectors, because this is the home of the mother. And if you're in such professions, you take on like a mother nurturing role, whether you work with small babies or work with elderly people that you have to mother them, nurture them again. So there might be some responsibilities of parenthood. When my husband had Saturn transiting the fourth house, we were not building a house or anything like that, but we had babies. Both of my son and daughter were pretty much born when Saturn was transiting the fourth sign from my husband ascendant. Suddenly he is a parent. Saturn is responsibility of parenthood. Fourth house is to be a parent, to take care. And yes, it was heavy because we were doing it all kind of on our own. And he became the mommy because I was obsessed, still working. I had to work 4 or 5, 6 hours every day. So he was with 2 tiny babies. It was heavy burden, but it was a great thing because you know the purpose, the desire, what it is for, why you're doing it. So it it can be, you know, if you not get angry against what is coming your way, if you accept it, Saturn requires humility. Saturn requires, if you can remember one thing, every time you have Saturn transits, whatever you're undergoing there, whatever issue is coming in your life or you have to work on, if you accept it with humility and accepting God's will. And it doesn't mean be like a mat, whatever happens, a walking mat. I'm not going to do anything. Yes, you need to show that resilience, perseverance of Saturn. But instead of having anger in your soul, resisting what is happening, it's just going to make our Saturn transits harder. If you accept it with humility, and it's kind of this really straight head, it is what it is. Let's see what I can do about it now. How I can best work with it. A bit like emotional detachment. It has to be done. What it is, it is. It has to be done. Let's get it done, you know. And one day I'll be free of this, or maybe, you know, maybe not that you're going to be free from it, but whatever has to be done will be done. So that's actually, this is for all your life you can accept, because Saturn is known as the planet that tests us the most. If you can accept, and any other planet transit, it is what it is. I accept God's will. If you can do this, you're a saint. This is what saints basically have learned to do it naturally without pretending. That's the path to sainthood. Accept God's will and roll with it. And still keep loving God and life and the world around you. And don't deny life. Don't deny despite of what's happening. I'm not saying bad stuff will be happening. I told you my husband just had a lot of responsibilities and duties. And there were a lot of responsibilities around the house. My son had Saturn transit in his 4th house. It's 2 years when during that time we relocated like a very long time from America to Bulgaria, and him acclimating to this, you know, to this relocation was a bit hard. Saturn in the 4th house can also mean relocations, kind of cutting connection with place that you're living and having to acclimate, and sometimes it might be a bit harder because it is Saturn, or it might be happening because of work responsibilities that you have to change place of living, or because of parents or family, something to do. But if it's happening, it's supposed to happen, so it is what it is. Another thing, and you might, for example, when Saturn is transiting the 4th house, to relocate, sometimes by force, or sometimes because it's the end of something. There might be a lot of focus on moving, changing something, restoring, building something, home, property, land, dealing with such matters, or where to live. Another thing that it can play out in your case in particular, Saturn rules the 2nd house of finances and investments. Going into the 4th house, Sagittarius, it might be a good time now to invest into property or land, which is another 4th house, or this is where your money will be safer, and this is where your money, and it's something long term, because the 2nd house of Sagittarius is Capricorn, something long term, stable, more traditional, going into the 4th house. So now, as I said, actually good time for you to buy or purchase or even make money from property in some way, take care of land, or even invest in land. Another way it can mean is that you have some expenditure, rule of 2nd, spending, about property, real estate, place of living, family. You know, I've seen other people also, when Saturn transits the 4th house, relocate because of work. Saturn is work, duties. And yeah, so these are all kind of different ways it can play out. And oftentimes when people relocate somewhere, when Saturn is in the 4th house, it has a Saturnian qualities, that place. So it might be colder place, so it might be north-facing place. So if you're trying to invest in property, it might be a good idea to look into those Saturnian qualities, because that's what it's indicated, north-facing, or more like colder place, or colder territory, or stone, made out of stone, made out of wood as well. Saturn rules those things. There might be lead there as well, because Saturn rules lead. This is its element. Or stone, or more wild nature. Saturn also rules wild nature. And of course, it's in Pisces. It can be near water. and so on. But just giving you some ideas if you're looking for investment in property or anything like that. So it's Saturn is not like a blockage, but it's like it's just a manifestation there. All right. So yeah, I think we mentioned pretty much everything that Saturn in the fourth house can represent. But actually, Saturn is receiving a lot of help, especially the first 6 months from Jupiter, because Jupiter will be sextiling, which is very good aspect. It's a helpful aspect, not a challenging one. Will be helping Saturn from your sixth house. So anything matters of property, family, home, parenthood, family karma, resolving such emotional, psychological issues that we're talking about, or going introspective, researching those things like doing family constellations, digging, trying to understand the family past and so on. If you're doing any such things, Jupiter is helping you with insights. Jupiter is helping you. Jupiter is the planet of knowledge, of wisdom, of realizing something. So there's a lot of help there. And of course, if you have anything to do with property or real estate, if you're starting, for example, if you're doing business with real estate or property, or if you're restructuring something at home, Jupiter, the first 4, 5, 6 months, is sextiling Saturn, meaning that there will be, whatever you build now will be long lasting. So if you're making some changes, starting some changes in your home or private life, personal life, which is the fourth house, Jupiter sextiling in the first 4 or 5 months says these will be good. These changes, yes, they might be hard, it's Saturn, they might require effort, but they'll be, because you see Jupiter started the cycle with Saturn here, and now is the first opening sextile, and it's saying whatever you're building here, everything fourth house that we talked about, it will give fruits for a long time after that. We're just starting the cycle. So there might be an opportunity for property, for relocation, for family, for settling down. Saturn in the fourth house can be this as well. Change your place of living, but it's saying it's going to be long lasting. There will be opportunities. And Jupiter will be in your sixth house, Taurus. It started there, it entered your sixth house in May 2023 and will stay there till June 2023. So 12 months Jupiter tends to stay in her house. And Jupiter is the good teacher, the benevolent teacher. Jupiter in the sixth house, it doesn't directly make an aspect to Sagittarius, so I cannot give you any specific degrees, but Jupiter being in the sixth house, especially from ascendant, you might notice it less so from sun or moon, but still it's a good idea to check. Some might feel it stronger from the sun. Well, wherever Jupiter goes, opportunities are birthed, and you need to grab them, or the whole environment of that area of life tends to improve. And it's not just temporarily. Usually the improvement tend to be long-lasting. Because you realize something, you learn something, you gain more knowledge and understanding. And the sixth house in particular can be related to your health and health habits, how you eat, what you drink, your posture, do you exercise, how do you sleep enough. These are all the daily, how do you brush your teeth, how do you take care of anything in order to make your body work and maintain it. So these are your routines and daily habits. Jupiter can give you great insight and realization about, something. You might even fortuitously, by good luck, find the right remedy for a certain condition, or the right type of food, or the right type of supplement, or the right type of nutrition, the right type of exercise. All six houses also the right doctor to treat you from something. So if you've had a long-standing health issue while Jupiter is in the sixth house, you might truly start finding a solution to it. And you might truly kind of improve it in some way, get a better doctor, or through the power of faith itself, because Jupiter is faith, prayer, God, knowledge or realization. It can have through divine grace, you can have a reprieve and healing of a standing condition, or you can get more knowledge and realization about what exercises, what routines are the best for you. And when you implement them now till June, they can be long lasting in your life, giving positive results. So this is one of the positive ways Jupiter in the 6th house can work. Of course, sometimes Jupiter can trigger some health condition because it's the 6th house of illness. If that is happening, it's so you can turn towards maybe some different modes of healing, to find a different doctor, or to find a different practices and routines to take care of your health. And Jupiter will help you quickly find those. So that's one way Jupiter can play out. Oh, sorry. Sixth house is also connected to work, to duties and responsibilities. Jupiter in the 6th house can indicate that some of you might find just the right employment that feels very meaningful to them. But first of all, Jupiter is you. Don't forget that. You are Jupiter. Wherever Jupiter goes, it's very important for you. You're very focused on that. So definitely the 6th house, whether it's supplement, whether it's health, whether it's health routines, or, oh my God, when I speak about health, and my health issue always comes back. So Jupiter in the 6th house always tends to, especially when it comes to work, the other meaning of an employment of the 6th house, tends to give you, to help you find out better employment, or if you're already employed, to be to receive you more work than normal, or to find a new. For example, I have a friend who is Sagittarius rising, and she said she got a new client now, and she says, "Oh, I have so much more work. Jupiter expands whatever it touches." She says, "Yes, I'm happy, but a bit overworked as well. Can make you a bit of a workaholic, because Jupiter also shows where we can feel joy. So combine joy while you work. So that's quite nice, because you'll be finding pleasure or joy in working." I remember when Jupiter was transiting the 6th house from my moon, I was a bit of a workaholic. I had 2 little babies, but I was spending more time working during the day than with them. Sometimes it's really increased my workload, and some new ideas came up about how to work and the structure of my work and the way you can do it. Another way Jupiter in the 6th house can play is that it brings you new employees. For example, that's when I hired people to help me. Before that, I was doing everything on my own, like checking all emails. Then I hired my brother. Then I hired to check administrator. Then I hired another one to help me with the thumbnails. Then I hired someone else to help me with marketing. So that's when I got a bit crazy hiring people. 6th house is your employees. They can expand number, but usually the people that you hire when Jupiter transits your 6th house from Sun, Moon, or Ascendant are good, a very good choice. They'll be helpful. They'll be full of ideas. They'll be reliable, usually truthful, and you're looking for such kind of people. 6th house can also indicate that you find a job that's more meaningful. Okay, we said that, or some kind of service. Even if you're not working, it might be that increases your responsibilities and duties, serving others, whether it's children, whether it's your family. Your workload can increase, but so can joy from doing that as well. Or you can be just doing some service work that you get really, say for example, in some ministries of service. If you're someone who goes to church, you might get involved more with service. Or if you're someone who gets to AA, or even if you don't, any kind of service to others will be very gratifying now. And it's not just kind of sitting and praying for them. It's Jupiter in the 6th house. You want to do something hands-on for them. I don't know, go help someone build a house, go something practical, go if there is a mom who needs, you watch her children if she needs some time alone or whatever. Anything that is a practical service of others. When Jupiter transits the 6th house, you feel more called towards doing, and you definitely create very good karma with that. So find a place of service, or just your workload can increase in some way. But there is one negative way of Jupiter in the 6th house, because 6th house is also self-medicating, and Jupiter can expand those behaviors there, especially if you're not busy with something useful and constructive and productive during that time. Even if you don't have a job, it might be some ministry of service, helping children learn to read, helping someone with their garden, or just sixth house has a very strong connection to working to agriculture and land, working in a land, just having a garden where you can work in, learning about such things, learning about nutrition. Jupiter in the sixth house is fantastic to learn about nutrition, fantastic to learn about healing herbs and plants, about medicinal food stuff, and even growing them and get a lot of knowledge about that. So if you're, that's one of the best manifestation possible of Jupiter in the sixth house, knowledge about sixth house things. Either you become more knowledgeable about your work, and it shows, so you might get a promotion, or you kind of get some extra classes or courses for your work that make you more organized and efficient there, or more knowledgeable, or you can get more knowledge about other sixth house things, career, health, nutrition, how to eat, exercise. All of those things will come with ease, and the right knowledge will come to you, the right path to follow will come to you. So, Jupiter in the sixth house. But of course, sometimes it can be the negative side, that Jupiter can increase some health problems, so it can turn you towards putting your focus towards, discovering more holistic ways or healing methods. But if you're in any sixth house career, Jupiter transit the sixth house can be very good for you. If you're a serviceman, someone in the army, so anyone if you're in social services, if you're in any ministries of service, your work can increase. If you're a doctor or a healer or a nutritionist, or anyone to do with exercise, like fitness people, Jupiter can increase the joy, the knowledge of that, increase the clientele as well, especially your expertise in those fields. In those sixth house fields. So that's for Jupiter in the sixth house, and then Jupiter from the end of May and from basically, let's say from June in particular, moves into your seventh house. Some of you would feel it immediately if you're early born Sagittarius. Others would feel it more towards the summer, or even into 2025 if you're later Sagittarius degrees, until Jupiter reaches those exact degrees for you. But even from the beginning, you might start feeling already a big shift from June, because Jupiter now directly aspects you. When it was in the sixth house, it's working on some kind of separate area of your life, but it didn't have a direct impact on you. And now that's a great protection, because Saturn is squaring Sagittarius. Sometimes it can be hard on the health, on the vitality, if it's your sun or moon there, even the ascendant. But the moment Jupiter enters into a full aspect with Sagittarius, it starts protecting your health, and it starts protecting your, the vitality, and starts stabilizing it. Rather than Saturn depleting it, Jupiter starts, stabilizing it. And sorry. But you're going to start feeling the rise of energy, picking up of the vibration already from June onwards. And Jupiter in particular this year will transit from 11 to 22 degrees 3 times. 3 times into 2020. The third time will be in 2025. But especially if you're Sagittarius, from 10 to 22, 23 degrees. I said 11, but there is always an orb. 10, 9 even, 9, 10, or up to 24, 25 degrees. Jupiter will be in those, especially those degrees, in between them as well, more than one times. And Jupiter will become stationary on the 22nd degree, start moving back, and stationary on the 11th degree and start moving forward. So 3 degrees before and after, very pivotal. Those people feel it so strong. So if you're those degrees, especially between 8 to 24, 5 in Sagittarius, you will feel the full force of Jupiter more than once. If you're the earlier degree, Jupiter will just pass once over there. If you're after 22 degrees, you might feel Jupiter in the 7th house in 2025 till Jupiter moves into those degrees. So you might have to wait a little bit, the latest Sagittarius born degrees, but still already Jupiter is in your 7th house. What does it mean? Well, when Jupiter transits the 7th house, it might be the time for love. It might be the time to take a relationship to the next level. It opens doors, Jupiter, for any kind of contracts, agreements, partnerships. For example, I got married when Jupiter was in the 7th house. My first marriage, it happened in the 7th house, and it was great marriage till I got in love even more. And that was when Jupiter was in my 7th house from the sun. So it's crazy, but yeah, I got married. The first time when I got married, Jupiter in the 7th from ascendant. Second time I got married, Jupiter in the 7th house from my sun sign. So this is a time when something like that can happen. Not necessarily marriage, but a committed relationship, someone important entering in your life. And I've seen people that when Jupiter transits their 7th house, they're like, oh, I thought I would meet someone. No one appeared, what's happening? But they actually met other people in their life, more like friends, that opened new horizons for them, that made them more excited about the world or brought new opportunities into their life, because 7th house is not always marriage, partnership, or boyfriend, girlfriend. 7th house is sometimes a business partner that can appear, an inspirational figure in your life that opens new horizons for you, a new friendship, or a collaboration with someone to do something, someone who will support you, someone who is helping you, Or if you're already married, when Jupiter transits the 7th house, your partner might start feeling better, or they might start having more success, or they might start some new phase in their life, or they might become more inspired, or if there is a problems in your relationship, they might start improving. When Jupiter transited the 7th house of my husband, that was a year ago, something like that, our relationship started improving, because before that I was depressed and I was not feeling well for a few years. I had health problems. And when Jupiter entered his 7th house, my health problems started going away. I started getting better, more optimistic, positive. That's another way it can play out. Or if you're single, truly that's a time when you can meet someone, especially if you're those degrees, 7, 8 till 24, 20, in between those degrees where Jupiter will pass 3 times or become stationary. I also made amazing partnerships during Jupiter transiting my 7th house. Some people that I'm still partnering up to till day, astrologers that are very knowledgeable. So knowledgeable people enter your life, or people that bring some opportunities of some sort. Someone that expands, or fortune, or something good happens there. And of course, you are Jupiter. So you're moving into the 7th house, your focus will become a lot more on relationships, on others. You might become more invested in a relationship, or into a project with another person, or in some collaboration. Or 7th house is also business house. I've seen people when Jupiter transits their 7th house, and they have some kind of online small business that makes homemade something. And suddenly their clients expand, triple, 4 more. And they're like, wow, suddenly my page, there's 80,000 people, from 3,000 to 80,000, everyone is ordering. Well, I wish it all on you, but definitely you can become more popular, or reach out more audience, or your audience and following can expand, or your clients can expand when Jupiter is there. You might get a new idea for some kind of a marketing campaign or sales campaign, because 7th house is the client, the audience, and you might approach them in a really good way because of Jupiter, the knowledge of Jupiter, the enthusiasm of Jupiter. You invested in that, so that might be really good when you receive positive feedback for others. First of all, you can become more popular with others. If you're someone in high school, even at your work, I don't know, it can improve popularity with your peers. 7th house is peers. It can improve, as I said, if you're in any kind of business, it can bring you more clients. You can come across and invent or think of a better idea how to attract clients. It doesn't mean they just fall on your lap as well. It might be some knowledge or information you get that you apply and you start seeing the results of it very fast. So that's another way it can play out. Jupiter in the 7th house, business expanding and reach of people expanding. Now, I have to put a disclaimer. It's not always Jupiter in the 7th that you meet the love of your life and marriages and so on. Sometimes it can be a divorce even, but if it happens, that's actually a wanted thing. It's something that you are freed, because Jupiter is a planet of being freed and liberation, especially if you've been in some contract or agreement that is limiting to you, or that's been unfair in some way. Now you can be freed from it. And it's not going to feel painful, it's going to feel releasing in some way. So it's not only about marriage, as I said, it can be about a contract, agreement, but usually someone new can quite quickly come and take the place. Or if a client leaves or something, new ones come and better karma for you even. Now, what else is the 7th house? 7th house, if you have court cases, law, whatever, you might be the one that wins because you get a good lawyer. 7th house is representatives, agents that present you instead of you. So it might be a good idea if you have something important to do. Say you are an artist, you might find someone to do this for you, like an agent or the right person to open the right door for you, someone benevolent, someone that brings some opportunity to you. Or if you have a court case, you can find a really good lawyer that represents you, someone that helps you. Or whatever you're trying to do, it might be whether you're trying to find a job or achieve some goal. Jupiter in the 7th house means that you might be better off doing it with another person, or another person will help you. They can give you an advice, they can tell you something, or they can actually connect you with the right people, the right place, and they can say, oh, I've got an idea, I've got just the right job for you, I can recommend you, or they're like, why don't you look on this website, maybe you'll get answers. So really pay attention from the middle of the year till the middle of 2025. What comes to you from others? Really open yourself to that. I know Sagittarius are a little bit preachy, a little bit they know it all, but now it's telling you that your luck and good fortune is coming to you from the opposite side of you. Opening up to the opinions of others, to the information, Gemini, that comes to you from others. For someone mentioning something, rather than just trying to do things on your own. Because wherever Jupiter is, things will happen easier for you. So it's a good idea, honestly, to open yourself to others, what comes to them, to you through them. I remember I met people that, when I look back at it, I realized how helpful they've been to me. Those people that I met when Jupiter was in the 7th house, from my ascendant, from my sun, from my moon. It's often that this happens. So do pay attention. If you have anything, sun, moon, or ascendant in Sagittarius, something good is coming to you from another. More partnership, more opening yourself to others or to their advice. Or maybe if something is happening, your husband or wife says, well, there is a change happening in my life, let's go and move to live there, or so a partner offers you to do something, or someone that a friend or acquaintance offers to do some business or some activity, joint venture. I would advise you to open yourself to it, because there is some fortune hidden there, there's some good karma there. With Jupiter, that is divine grace, and there is wisdom and knowledge coming to you from there. Even if it's not long-term, whatever, it's something you have to experience that will serve you down the road for opening paths for you. So if someone offers you to do something, of course, you need to use, common sense, because someone can offer you to rob a store, or someone can offer you to cheat on your husband together, So those temptations sometimes, because Saturn is also squaring Jupiter pretty much the whole second part of the year on August the 19th and in December 24th, kind of holy days. So the whole second part of the year, Jupiter is in the 7th house. Opportunity comes to you from others, but Saturn is squaring, which means even those opportunities that are coming to you, they have to carry the moral responsibility of Saturn. They have to carry the lawful qualities of Saturn to be lawful. So only accept things from others that are lawful, that are moral, that are about building something together. That might take time. Actually, starting something new with another, with Jupiter, is really good for during this, 1 year from June 2024 till June 2020, till July almost 2025. Starting something with another, or listening to another's advice and going after something, or giving priority. Say your husband says, because of work we need to relocate, be open to it. Follow the lead of another, so to speak. Or maybe someone advises you, they're like, I'm an agent, let's do this, let's do that. Again, be open to this advice. I know it's hard for Sagittarius, but that's where your good stuff are going to come from. But there is some test because of Saturn squaring. And as I said, Saturn is squaring pretty much degrees that Jupiter is transiting. Saturn is squaring in particular 12 to 20 degrees for the first time in 2024, while Jupiter is transiting 11 to 22 degrees, so pretty much the same degrees. So while Jupiter is helping those degrees a lot with expansion through others, Saturn is squaring them. So the growth will be slower than if it was just Jupiter. There will be some obstacles to overcome, you see. But definitely opportunities will come to you from others, through reaching out, collaborating with others, while Saturn tells you just test as well. You see, Jupiter starts helping you, opportunities, everything, but don't be blind jumping in. Saturn says, make sure you always test and know that there might be extra work and things need to be corrected. Even if you start them, down the road, they need to be corrected and readjusted. It does not mean don't start them. It does not mean don't start them. If someone offers you to do something, if there is an opportunity for business there with Jupiter in the 7th house, it's really good for that, for clientele expansion and so on. But with Saturn, it's like it might come with extra duties and responsibilities, with some obstacles, or more demands on you, or even a bit of extra responsibility or a bit of extra criticism. So it's going to be at moments you might feel, especially the second part of the year. The first one, Jupiter and Saturn in a very harmonious aspect. We said Jupiter in the 6th house, Saturn in the 4th house, good harmony between home, property, inner world, and work and duties and responsibilities and so on. Things started the first part of the year, especially the first 3 months, can be very harmonious, stable. The second part of the year, there can be this push and pull between the two principles of Saturn and Jupiter. And those degrees that I mentioned, middle degrees, I would say 10 till 22, 3, even earlier, 8, 9 till 22, 3. They'll feel sometimes the energy of Saturn, which is the energy of Jupiter, which is expansion, growth, opportunities, excitement coming to them from others. While at the same time, at a few days later, or a few weeks, or even simultaneously, Saturn is duties, responsibilities, restrictions. Jupiter is growth, expand, new horizons. Saturn is make it smaller, be careful. Jupiter is jump with both feet, don't look, trust the process. Saturn is doubt everything, measure 3 times, cut just once. So you might be going a bit yo-yo, and it's okay. It doesn't mean it's impossible. You might be needed to use those approaches in different areas of your life. And sometimes it's just Jupiter energy, and I tell you truly, like, you have nothing to fear. Accept it, But when it's with Saturn and Jupiter, there is this push and pull energy. But they're manifesting. When they're in aspect, Saturn and Jupiter, Jupiter is inspiration, and often the inspiration can come to you from others or by interaction with others, whether it's through social media, whether it's through exchanging ideas with other people, or brainstorming, or by talking with another, Jupiter in Gemini, that the inspiration can come. Or Saturn It means to manifest something, to make it tangible by going through the rules and the laws and making sure it's administratively well and bureaucratically it's following the rules. So again, it can be a very productive time for business as long as you're not pushing it for it to happen fast, and as long as you cross the T's and dot the I's, the opportunity for growth for business will be really good. And not just for business, for relationships. So Saturn squaring the ascendant, for example, and Jupiter in the 7th house, there can be some tests removing some people from your life that are not necessarily, that whose place is not there, while Jupiter brings new ones. You see how it can play out. So you remove some partnerships, business, or some contracts, which is Saturn, diminish, make smaller. Jupiter is bring new ones. Towards the moon sign in Sagittarius, again, Saturn is, really kind of your emotional attachments, be more deliberate, more conscious about them. Jupiter says, but if you do the right work of cleaning up the necessary ones and doing your responsibility and duties towards others, I'll bring good things to you from others. And the sun sign is more towards career, business. Of course, it can be personal life as well, but the same applies to it. So Jupiter, it means even if also you have some responsibilities and duties here with family, with emotionally, if it's going a bit hard, or if you're having responsibilities with real estate, with parenthood, the second part of the year, Jupiter says, but your partner might be helping, or you might have someone who is helping you or uplifting you or helping with this situation. But of course, they can create a tension a little bit between personal life, family, and the partnership as well. So especially around the squares, which is since August the 19th, so couple of weeks before and after, and December 24th, couple of weeks before and after, there can be some push and pull and some important decisions that you have to make about place of living and partner. For example, because of a partnership, you might have to change your place of living, or because you're changing your place of living, this can affect your partnership, or some important conversations about parents and a partner, some important developments about parental responsibilities in a partner, or some important conversations and developments between your business partner and the space that you need to work, or the office and whatever. So it can play in different ways. So personal life, more business life. One is more personal life, Saturn. The other one, Jupiter in the 7th house, more social and business life. But with this Jupiter in the 7th house, I would advise you to definitely open yourself to others, because good things can come to you from them. Then we always have to look at the nodes, of course, the south and north node, because they cause the eclipses. And the north node will be the whole year in your 5th house, which is great. South node is magnifying energy, so it magnifies the fireness. That's, it's in another fire sign. So it can, despite of all this wet energy of Saturn in an emotional house that can make it at moments more emotional, too introspective, this fire is still in you, because there is this really powerful point, the north node in a fire sign, enhancing your fire energy in a house of self-expression. And the north node is always in the opposite sign. I don't know where my north node is. They're always on the same degree, but opposite. It's an axis. It's not a planet. It's an axis, but it's a karmic axis. It's most important in ancient Vedic astrology. It was just as important as Saturn and Jupiter, and definitely it is, because it's the axis that causes eclipses, fated events. So how can it play having the south node in the 11th house, Sagittarius, and the north node in the 5th house, which happens once every 18 years only, for a year and a half. But the whole 2024, you're going to have the north node, which moved there towards the end of July in 2023. So some of you have started feeling those energies already, and the eclipses started happening from 2023 in your 5th house, but others might take the whole into 2024 to feel it. So the north node is the energy of spring and newness. That's why new karma comes, which is kind of fated. It's in your 5th house. Now, 5th house is falling in love. 5th house is, so and having Jupiter in the 7th house, especially from the second part of the year, I think this is the year of marriages or relationships for many Sagittarius. Even if you've been single for a while, believe me, something is brewing here in a big way. Sagittarius rising in particular, you can feel it. So some of you, Rahu already entered your 5th house, even from 2023. The themes of falling in love might have started. Something new, something that makes you believe in love again, something that makes, like I have a Sagittarius rising friend, and she hasn't been in love in years, seriously. And she's like, I don't think I can fall in love. So Rahu entered 2023, her 5th house, and she just went on a holiday now in October. And she comes back and says, I can't believe it. I fell in love. It was a fated meeting. She used the words of Rahu in the 5th house, fated. And she says, I don't care if I ever see him again. I just know that I can fall in love. I never believed I could. But he had such new energy, such different energy. It's like, I thought I would never feel this feeling again. So Rahu can open this, and you can have more than one love experience. You can start dating, or it can break the mold, because Rahu is an energy of breaking the mold of your dating life. If it's been in a desert, it can change it. Or if it's been random, it can suddenly bring you an obsession, because Rahu rules infatuation a little bit. Kind of like, it might not be always long lasting, but there is infatuation there. And Rahu can bring, especially if you're single, a Rahuvian type of love that is different, that is with a foreign. Like my friend, she found love. She's like in Bulgaria. We don't have foreigners here, and she says, I fell in love with an American USA guy who is African American. It's like so different than we've never seen black people here in Bulgaria. You don't see that. Not that we're racist. We don't have that. So it's like something very radical in your love can happen. I'm not saying all Sagittarius rising will meet some big love that is different skin color, different religion. Rahu can be someone falling in love with someone that is very exotic for you. If you're from the Philippines, someone very exotic can be an engineer from Germany for you, or whatever. Or someone that is kind of, that has something fascinating, something worldly about them, something well-traveled or foreign, or something that is different, breaking the mold there. So these are the type of Rahuvian romantic relationships the North Node, which is also called Rahu, can drag you in. But if you're married, it can also get you involved to fall in love with someone else. And especially if it's an unhappy or unproductive marriage, that can be a big, big thing for Sagittarius, some Sagittarius rising, because Jupiter in the 7th, remember, it can release you from a relationship that is been feeling heavy or that's been dead for a while, while Rahu, the whole 2023, the part of 2023 and the whole 2024 can bring new love interests to fall in love, and it can happen fast. Rahu moves fast. It's like, but again, Saturn squaring the axis of the 1st and 7th says you might have to remove something from your life first before the new thing enters. But there is a lot happening on these relationships. 5th house is romance. Saturn is squaring the axis of 1st and 7th. Jupiter in the 7th. Something big, big, guys. And so sometimes it can mean even falling in love and leaving a marriage and starting a new relationship. For some of you, it can be. Or if you're single, definitely, it's the easy option. Definitely meeting someone. But if you're someone that is already married and you love your marriage partner, and you have no intentions, so Jupiter is not going to break up your marriage here. There's no problems in it as it is. As I said, something good can start improving your marriage, and the North Node in the 5th house can, for example, indicate a new passion that comes to your life, or renewal of the romance, maybe experimenting sexually, because it's a sexual house as well. Experimenting with something new, or starting to have more fun, finding time and place for fun, for enjoyment. 5th house is, going to holidays, to restaurants, to theaters, or playing tennis. With the North Node is in Aries, it's more physical. Having some fun together, that's more physical. That can improve the love life, that can improve the reconnection. Or even if you're single and you don't care about relationships, and this all those really relationship activating aspects for some reason don't activate you. It's this Rahu North Node in the fifth house says you're gonna discover new passions in life that make you feel more alive, and you might do it with a partner, not marriage partner, not sex partner, with a friend. Jupiter in the seventh house. Maybe someone comes and says, oh, let's play tennis. Have you ever played tennis? Be open to it, try it, and you find a new passion. New passion for sports. Fifth house is sports or any kind of leisure activities to have fun. But because for you it's Aries, that's why Sagittarius is such a sporty sign. Because Aries, the sign of physicality and movement and exercise, is in the fifth house of how to have fun and self-expression. They naturally self-express through Aries things. So that's why sometimes they're quite competitive in love, and they try to, even women, they try to compete with men. Not necessarily, but but that might be. So you'll have more time for those fifth house things, hobbies, exploring passions. For example, for me, when Rahu transited the fifth house, I went all into knitting, but it was in Gemini, the hands, my sign. For it might be more Aries, fast cars, driving, I don't know, extreme sports, more sex, or just more physicality, more exploring places that are more kind of, I don't know. Oh, the fifth house is also spiritual practices. You might become very passionate about spiritual practices like prayer and so on. To try some kind of, it's fifth house is spiritual practices, funny enough. Because actually, if you do them right and consistently, they lead to the biggest joy and happiness. Because the fifth house is the house of connection, a childlike connection to divine love. Because it's love, the house of love, but the highest love is this divine love. And only children or people that are very pure physically, psychologically, they can feel this passion, this passion for life, not for the lower aspects of life, even though Rahu can awaken those, but those aspects of joy, just having fun, just enjoying, feeling being connected to the love of life. And Rahu, I forgot what I was going to say. Rahu in the fifth house can awaken this for you, basically. Can awaken this passion for life. And for you, there definitely involves some fifth house, some Aries energy, like some movement as well. But any kind of, yes, that's what I was talking, spiritual. So the highest sort of joy is received from spiritual practices. So some kind of if you have any such inclinations, you can experience that. Some kind of joy, because Rahu magnifies your focus there. If you've been doing spiritual practices, you can have these states of exaltation, of joy, the connection to love, to deep love towards God and the world. Of course, other people take it through the world. They try and take their joy out from the world, which is never long-lasting with external ways, which Rahu can intensify by drinking, partying, jumping from one sex partner to another. Rahu can intensify those as well. But those of you who try and find this joy in life through spiritual practices, through painting, writing, meditation, prayer, these are all fifth house activities, they would receive a joy that is incomparable. Rahu just opens these doors. It's a portal there to receive this joy. While others, like, more worldly people, they'll be drawn more to glamour, to parties, to fashion, the different vibration that they think that joy comes and happiness, partying, sexual partners. But this is the one that drains your energy down the line. Because Rahu can intensify both. Depends. Maybe you're meant to experience more the worldly ones now, and in the next life, you'll not be so drawn to them. But Rahu can intensify, because some of you say, I feel like no spiritual practices, but another who is already inclined to that, one can say, I just feel like having different sexual partners. Another can say, I just feel like having more fun and partying, But The true joy comes through spiritual practices, which is the other meaning of the fifth house. Now, fifth house is also children. Some of you can indicate that you can get pregnant. Surprise, surprise. Even Rahu breaks the mold. Even if your age is older, or if you're not, Rahu, North Node has surprising energy. If you've been trying to do it, good luck. You're in luck. Rahu there, it's a more fertile planet. Might be, it can come. And Rahu sometimes can mean using some technologies. So I don't know. Sometimes it can be IVF or something like that, but not necessarily. But definitely there can be a surprise pregnancy or a baby. Also, as I said, falling in love. You know that if you've been trying to get pregnant but you're not in love, it's very hard to do it. Well, actually, the moment you fall in love, you get pregnant much easier. There is some magnetic energy that magnetizes both the egg and the sperm, and So it might be for some of you that's something very fast. You get fall in love, get pregnant, bam, 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 bam. Whoa! All right. Fifth house is also, well, what if you're in your 60s? Well, surprise pregnancy might not be the thing that happens, but it might be a new hobby, new passion, or new creative, artistic pursuit. Now, fifth house definitely, whether you're young or old, can indicate that you find a new passion or a new creative. So if you're a creative person, now will be very creative time. Rahu in the fifth house, you'll be full of new ideas. You'd be passionate to try new things, to try new ideas, to experiment more, to have more adventures. So that's a very good thing. Of course, the opposite node is the south node, which is going to be in your 11th house, the whole 2024. What it means, whatever the south node is more like autumn energy. It's more introspective, more withdrawn, more passive, more intellect, kind of more internal. This is more passionate. So the 11th house is your social life. So you might actually let go of some friends. Your social life might take a step back. Say if you participate usually in some, you go to church every month or every week, or you go to gatherings for, whatever it is. This is the 11th house. Or you meet your friends every Friday for drinks, or, every day. This is your social environment, your friends, whether it's you're going to church, whether it's you're going to some seminars every week, or whether it's you get together with larger group of people and you do something. Well, this is what might suffer. South node is because possibly your love life, because you get focused here on children. With the north node, you might become more passionate towards interacting with children. There can be some big changes in the life of your children. As well with your romantic life, as I said, to some your own personal projects and creative projects that take your focus and attention, so you don't have as much time for socializing, for your social circle. It doesn't mean you cannot have friends in your life, but South Node is more like friends from the past that already have, or letting go of some friends that you're feeling like you have nothing in common already, detaching, disconnecting. South Node is the tail of the dragon, where you excrete from there. Can excrete some groups or memberships, even like Netflix membership or whatever, anything that you pay a subscription for, or that you're a member of some collective. So maybe you're a Uber or Uber Eats driver, you might decide to leave that because it's some collective project that you play in. You might decide to let go of this and focus on fifth house, which is your own creative project. It might be a child, or it might be a romantic life, or some creative, something that you want to do on your own. Fifth house, north node, is more some creative, some ideas as well. But remember, you can ask for help from others. Jupiter is in the 7th house from June onwards. And the south node, though, you can create very good relationships one-on-one with peers, but you might let go behind you more of the social aspect, hanging out with more friends, or caring what society expects from you. There is a bit of a dichotomy here, a bit of a clash because Jupiter is in a social house, while the North Node is in a self house. But you have a creative vision here, the North Node. Others will help you achieve it as well. But you shouldn't also South Node care what others will tell about it. So can you figure it out? Got a great idea, someone helps you about it, but don't care what society tells you is right or wrong at the same time. Now, the 11th house, the South Node, can also indicate some crisis because there will be eclipses there with a friend or in a friendship. But of course, it means the South Node also means spiritual energy or the past. There might be something from the past that comes up around social, about how you're with other people in society, about other people's opinion about you, something that maybe as a child you couldn't cope with and it comes up, but now you re-experience it in another way and release, this kind of self-identification. Or there can be something that a friend from the past comes back, South Node, or even new friendship that actually on a spiritual basis, South Node, or that are from past lifetimes, more spiritual. I had recently South Node through the 11th house. And for me, it was I met a few friends that it felt like I've known them I never actually met them in real life, online, but it felt like we were part of something from the past, from a bigger family. It felt like past life connection. We're coming to complete something together. So that can be one way it plays out. Another way South Node in the 11th house can play out is that you have more spiritual friends around you, South Node. Ones that are more not interested so much in worldly things, but interested more in spiritual. Or another thing is that you feel a bit more apathetic and detached towards friends, or your friends, they drift and leave and go somewhere, for a time. You couldn't be around them too much, but that gives you the chance to focus on this 5th house, interests, your own passions as well. But it's okay. And actually, some of the most important events on this, and the 11th house can be good, to help it. Say, remove yourself from memberships, remove some memberships that you no longer want to be part of, but join new groups that you want to be, that are more on a spiritual level, or, more about healing of some sort. And actually, the eclipse is happening. The first one is on March 25th. It's in your 11th house. It's a lunar eclipse at 5 Libra, conjunct the South Node. Well, yeah, so anything that about this 11th house we talked, it might be some important event about, it's a full moon, so completing some project you started in the past, because 11th house is also long terms and dreams and projects. Some project that is connected to larger group of people, completing it or ending it or seeing the results of it. Or it can be completing some friendship, or it can be something important happening in this friendship or love life sphere, because the sun is in the 5th house. Everything that we talked about, that it can be everything about the 11th and 5th house with the North and South Node we talked, can be activated around that time. The other solar eclipse is on April the 8th, again the spring, at 19 Aries in your 5th house. It's a new moon eclipse, new beginnings with Rahu, North Node. It can be truly about new love appearing, or new creative project, or some crisis happening in your love life that changes it strongly, or new creative project or hobby appearing, or something big fated happening in regards to children. So this April will be very pivotal for such matters as well. Then there is another eclipse on September the 17th, but this time is in Pisces, 25 degrees Pisces. So if you're Sagittarius from 22 till 28 degrees Sagittarius, you would feel this eclipse, even though the North Node is still in Aries. Is the first eclipse on September 17th, the first eclipse in your 4th house. Again, it will trigger this eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse, for the next 3 months, very strongly, which is already triggered. The themes of family, mother, father, parenthood, relocation, settling down, some fated pivotal decision there in that regards, fast development actually. And then all Sagittarius might feel this eclipse in their 4th house strongly. And then there is the final solar eclipse for the year on October the 2nd in Libra again, in your 11th house, with the south node again, but it's a new moon eclipse, which means the sun and the moon is there in the south node. New beginnings there connected to friendships, to your goals and your income. There can be some powerful new developments in regards to income, and in regards to friendships, in regards to social circle, in regards to who stays around your life, in your life, around you, more like the friends group and so on, and what groups you belong to, what memberships, what subscriptions, what organizations. And it can be something big about gaining a title or an honor of some sort, because 11th house rules titles, honors. Or it can be some new goal that is more altruistic towards participating in something that, but it has to be a bit more spiritual, south node, about helping humanity as a whole. That gets triggered around that time in the autumn. Okay, this is about the eclipses and the nodes as well. Now, the next big event that we need to cover is, it's quite more mundane, is the Mercury Retrogrades. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times every year, 3 to 4 times. And this year, most of the retrogrades will be actually in fire signs, which is good and supportive for Sagittarius. The first retrograde of Mercury will be happening in the 5th house, or around the whole of April. From April the 1st to April 25th, Mercury will be retrograde in your 5th house. And remember that there was an eclipse in your 5th house in April as well. So this topic is very strongly activated here in the 5th house. Some big change in your love life, or some big, and Mercury is your focus, and where is your conscious efforts, and even rethinking a love romantic relationship and rethinking your love life, because maybe something new appears, or maybe someone from the past, Mercury retrograde, gets in touch with you and it tingles a new love or romance, who knows? Or maybe you reconnect with love romantic relationship from the past. So think about someone from the past, and this, and you might meet them and get a closure and healing there. Or you might just some creative project that you've been working on, it can come back to you, and because there's a new moon eclipse at the same time, you complete some creative project, but the new idea, even more brilliant, comes, but you use some of your old resources, or use some of your old ideas to form something even better creatively. 5th house is any kind of ideas. If you have your own business and you need to make a independent, your own unique idea about it, this is again it. So some brilliant ideas, around that time. But of course, it might be important time to do some important conversations with romantic partners, Mercury retrograde there, to discuss things. And there might be some big decision taken in regards to a romantic relationship there. Things brought up from the past, rethinking the direction of a romantic relationship. Or there can be some important conversations led with children, or some important big thing happening in April with your children, or concerning the matters of childhood and children and childbearing. Changing your mind about something there as well. Changing some new rules that are appearing, some new direction if you have already children in their life as well. That's another way it can play out. If you're working on some creative project, you might be redoing it, retouching it, and so on. Then the next Mercury retrograde will be in Leo, a little bit in Virgo only, but most of it will be in Leo, and it's in August. The whole August, pretty much, from August the 4th to August 28th. Mercury starts by being retrograde in Virgo, so the first 10 days of August, the first, let's say 5-6 degrees of Virgo. So if you're 6 degrees, 0 to 6 degrees in Sagittarius, the beginning of August can be a bit rough because Mercury is squaring. So anything with communication, information, transportation might feel a little bit more stressful. You might need to make new plans. You might have some plans, they have to change. You have to be a bit more careful with passwords, communications, information, traveling. Nothing out of the ordinary, it's just more frustrating, or maybe redo something, especially Mercury is in the 10th house, some important conversations with authority figures, with institutions, with bosses that you have to do, that there's more tense situation there, or maybe some old project comes back to be revised or gets delayed professionally in your career, that you have to use 3 times more of your personal intellectual skills, which is Mercury, to get it done. But the final result can be a much better project at the end of the retrograde period in September, for example. And yes, it might be frustrating that you have to change something, re-examine it, but Mercury retrograde is 3 times more powerful than a direct Mercury because it's 3 times closer to Earth. So you kind of might be redoing, reorganizing, or having some important conversations with father figures, bosses, authority figures, and those, around August. But then Mercury moves into the 9th house, and actually those who are the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius, so from 20 till 30, will have Mercury support them. So if you're from 20 till 30 degrees Sagittarius, most of the second part of August, Mercury is retrograde in a supportive way for you. You might go to a place. So any mercurial activities can be good, but especially if they're about revising, editing, fixing something, using skills from before. It might be getting in touch with friends from far away that you haven't seen for a while, or getting in touch with people you haven't been in touch for a bit. It might be rethinking some project, redoing it, anything Mercury retrograde, but it's not stressful like the first 5 degrees of Sagittarius who are going to have the square at the start of August from Mercury. It's way more harmonious. Yeah, you're rethinking it, redoing it, some clarifying conversations, but they go well, smoothly. They're not so disruptive. And then Mercury retrograde in the 9th house for all of you Sagittarius in August, the second part can mean going back to countries you've used to been before too, or completing some trip you've been planning for a while and it comes back on the agenda again. Going back to rethinking your educational direction. Maybe going back to some old knowledge or information or wisdom, or getting in touch with a teacher from the past, or rethinking the direction of your educational. For example, you might decide to change majors, or you might or you might have to revise for something. But usually Mercury retrograde in the 9th house, you might not even feel it. Or if you're trying to apply for foreign residence or expecting visas or some documents for foreign travel, this can be the time when Mercury in the 9th house might be delayed, but you might be asked to supply some extra documents or whatever. And when Mercury turns direct, it should resolve all such issues. But it's good for commerce, for business, to fixing something, editing, improving it, and so on. And then but of course, the 9th house is the house of the higher self. So you might be rethinking your belief systems. If you are very sure about something always, and now there might be some doubt that appears, and that you start questioning, is that truly how it is? So that's this kind of faith, belief, 9th house energy, Mercury retrograde, questioning there, and being a bit more cautious and thinking maybe there is a different way. And it can create some introspection in regards to that, and introspection in regards to where your future is headed, and your introspection in regards to your relationship with a higher power. And then finally, Mercury goes retrograde in your sign. That Mercury retrograde, you're going to feel it. It's from December the 6th. It's from November the 24th to December the 15th. Now that Mercury retrograde is only in Sagittarius. So November and December, very pivotal months that many Sagittarius will feel in a mercurial way. And Mercury goes retrograde pretty much from 6 degrees in Sagittarius till 23 degrees in Sagittarius. So those degrees feel it between 6 and 23, the strongest. I would say between 4 and 25. So pretty much the whole Sagittarius sign. They strongly affected this Mercury retrograde in November and December. What you can feel it already from the start of November and the whole September, even after Mercury turns direct. Something very important, Mercury, you have to do. Mercury rules your career, the 10th house. You might be working on some project, deadlines, completing, redoing it, revisiting it. Mercury also rules your relationships, coming to your sign. You might have some important interpersonal relationships, making a big decision. There might be an element of crisis there where, but if a relationship is good, remember Jupiter will leave the good relationship, will grow them, make them great, but the bad ones, Jupiter will liberate you from them, from the 7th house. So Mercury in the 1st house, it brings the energy, because Mercury rules your 7th house, brings it here. So some important relationship conversations, some important negotiations with clients, they might be getting delayed, or they might, have to be redone a few times, or any kind of career project. Mercury is the ruler of your 10th house. Or negotiations or career project, you might have to ask 3 times of your mental energy and more patience with the retrograde planet, more strategic planning. You might have to re-examine the direction of your whole life, for example. I remember when Mercury went retrograde over my sun, exactly, there was a big change with my career, because I found out something from the past that's been happening that I wasn't aware of. Big crisis, I fired the person, so suddenly I had to take all of their responsibilities when I had just given birth to a baby. So I was like, my whole schedule had to change. Just given birth to a baby, schedule, Mercury changes. But suddenly I have 3 times as much work than normally, because I find something from the past, Mercury retrograde. I have a conflict, speaking things that I was supposed to say long term ago, but didn't have the courage to speak it up. I make up, the plan totally changes. So Mercury retrograde, the plan totally changes. And within 2 weeks, I had to learn how to do all of those things. And I quickly do it. I automate everything instead of doing it by hand. And I handle this new schedule with flying colors over the whole period of the Mercury retrograde. And when Mercury turns direct, at the end, I'm much more like, I've those skills, I've arranged, I've organized, and I'm on top of it, and things start going according to schedule. But the whole period of the retrograde might be more chaotic, because something comes up, you have to rearrange, so of course, don't start new things from November 24th to December 15th. Rearrange things that have happened already. Explore something alternative. You might change your mind about something. It can be great, because for many years ahead, it can give you an alternative perspective on something. You can really change your thought about your whole life and the direction it's taking, or at least asking you to look at it from a different perspective. So, or you can be working on some project, having to finish it, and so on. But also people from the past might be coming to you to contact and to maybe to start something with them again, or maybe to finally dissolve those connections from them and release them. But just pay attention. The whole year Mercury goes retrograde in self-houses, in other fire signs. So this year Mercury is all about you. The self-houses are... so your mind is very much about focusing on figuring out what you want and what your priorities are, who you are, your creative self-expression, your connection, your future, how you want to be, self-improvement. Mercury retrograde in August in the 9th house might be about you delving into self-improvement books and literature and so on, or anything to do with knowledge. And the 1st house is who am I, where am I going? So those Dharma houses Mercury is working on to strengthen who you are, to strengthen your qualities, your talents that are unique to yourself, to have a clearer idea of who you are and what you want. And this is very interesting, especially in November, because we're going to have Mercury, the ruler of the 7th in the 1st, so November and December, and the ruler of the 1st in the 7th. So it's like a mutual reception, we say. So both those houses, they're like united. So the first and the seventh are united. It can be uniting with another. So important, such an important. And when Mercury and Jupiter aspect their own houses, they manifest them. So manifestation of you embodying yourself fully, but also bonding yourself to another. So some very important pivotal developments in relationships between you and another happening again November, December. Something, whether it's personal or business relationship, I don't know. But there is like, you can meet someone then, you can something very, even though Mercury is retrograde, it doesn't matter. It's like it can be a new beginning, a new relationship, or it can be some very important next level development of a relationship that happens. So that's okay. And maybe someone helping you, or you see you go into another and another goes into you, kind of thing. There's this merging. So this is for the Mercury retrogrades, and we're going to have at the very end of the year Mars going retrograde as well. Oh, joy. It goes retrograde in, basically it enters from October already, the retrograde, the shadow period where it's going to go retrograde. So already from October, November, there can be some theme of this Mars in the 8th house that will stay there till May 2025. It can start already from October. It can be connected to something. You can start seeing what it's going to be already from October, November to this 8th, and then a bit of the 9th house, because it's partly in Cancer and partly in Leo. So there might be where Mars is where you're going to mobilize all your energy, basically from October till November, from October 2024 till end of April 2025. So 5, 6, 7 months almost. So a bit of this 8th house. You might feel more in 2025, this trends, but I want to mention what the trends will be. Already maybe starting October, November, 8th house, mutual finances. Money from banks or money out to others, or the resources of your partner, or mutually together with your partner, making some big changes and innovations in such matters. But hopefully it's not going to be about a fight for mutual resources. Sometimes there can be power struggles with Mars about my money, your money, inheritances, insurances, some hard work you have to do there. Insurances, inheritances, or mutual finances, or alimonies, or money that comes to you from others, or money that you have to contribute to others in some way. Mine versus yours. There might be some power struggles. There are some issues to be solved or worked on, or energies mobilized together. I remember when Mars was transiting my 8th house, my partner, which is 8th house is his money, 8th house is the partner's money. His phone got stolen, his work phone, and $20,000 bill came on it. And the job said you have to pay it. And he said, are you crazy? It was some scam. I cannot pay that. And it was those 4 or 5 months a struggle for him not to pay the money. He eventually won. Usually Mars in the 8th house wins whatever battle is. He won, but it was the stress of, his money and how I'm going to pay $20,000. I'm telling you how it played out in my way. And it put strain in our relationships and finances a bit. And we had some extra expenses as a couple. The boiler burst and, and we just bought a property, so extra expenses and so on. But there can be some power struggles there, or just extra energy for taxes and such. Or also it can be very great to have psychological breakthroughs from October till May 2025, October 2023. And because Mars is fantastic in the 8th house, is natural house, where it can have a psychological, like very quick realization and almost healings. I have to tell you, this is, yes, Mars in the 8th house can look scary for accidents and such things. You have to be a bit more careful. It is the 8th house of sudden unexpected events with Mars, an unexpected planet. Just be cautious. And surgeries, sometimes Mars in the 8th house can mean surgeries, but it truly needs to activate something in your horoscope. Just Mars on its own in the 8th house is not going to bring a surgery. It needs to maybe make an aspect to a natal planet. So if you have something, especially in Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, then it's a bit more dangerous for accidents or surgeries, otherwise not necessarily. But Mars here in the 8th house can have like sudden healings as well. That's the high vibration, because the chakras start spinning very fast. Mars is a fast planet. 8th house is the chakras where all the emotional blockages are. And Mars can even sometimes accidents and some scare can unblock the chakras, can trigger them to start working, or just it can happen spontaneously, and some sudden spontaneous healings can happen. It's been observed when Mars transits the 8th house, especially from the ascendant or from the moon. Not sure about the sun, but from the ascendant it's been seen, and from the moon. And the other themes that might be affected is fighting some battle with your own inner demons in the 8th house, with your own inner obsessions. And Mars will win that battle, which is you can have stronger willpower by May 2025. When this whole thing finishes, you might have overcome a certain shadow aspect of yourself, or something that has more power over you, more compulsion over you. Those inner demons, or maybe someone was trying to control you or manipulate you, and some secrets can come to the surface when Mars transits the 8th house, definitely. Some very important secrets. But also it can mean that you're putting mutual strong efforts with a partner, with another, towards building mutual finances. One of the simplest, nicest ways, hopefully it's not going to create you fighting with your partner, who does this, who does that, because there is this element sometimes, Mars in the 8th house, that can create these power struggles about mutual finances, or how much energy you contribute to something, how much energy they contribute to something, my chores, your chores, There might be this, definitely. But also Mars in the 8th house is strong for conceptions. We see another, Rahu in the 5th house of pregnancy, 8th house to get pregnant, conceptions, is the gate of life and death. It's the gate of where life enters, so the births and conceptions, but also deaths. So Mars can, unfortunately, sometimes activate for some of you the topic of death, someone passing, and then there is an inheritance, and something needs to be done about it. Hopefully not a fight about an inheritance, but just mentioning it's a possibility, but also it's the gate of life. I've seen very often Mars activating someone's 8th house when there is a birth of a child, for example, and so on. All right, and then there is Mars in the 9th house for a little bit, which means that actually just the first 6 degrees of Sagittarius will feel the trine of Mars, which is very helpful. And that will happen basically in December. And that's when Mars goes retrograde, from December the 6th. It's going to be the whole December retrograde in Leo. So it's mostly helpful for Sagittarius in December 2024. Might be, revisiting something from the past. There's partly Mercury's retrograde already there. Something like things slowed down that November, December with Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, but you're getting things from the past, you're reconnecting to the past. You might be revisiting some old knowledge here with Mars in the 9th house, so you might be revisiting some old places that you've been. Say, maybe if you've been to Hawaii, you haven't been for a few years, Mars retrogrades in your 9th house of foreign places. You can go back to a foreign place that you haven't been in a while for. But Mars retrograde in your 9th house can indicate some battle or struggle, or having to use extra energy in solving some documents, problems regarding relocation of foreign places, or something educational with professors. There might be some power struggles with professors. So there might be that the professor is being more demanding, putting more pressure on you for, some university deadlines, or if you're anyone who themselves is a teacher, or using any educational, what I'm doing now is 9th house. I'm teaching you about the future. Or if you're teaching about anything, your Mars retrograde in the 9th house can mean intensive period of a month or two where you're revising some old material or preparing some material to be taught. and putting extra energy. Retrograde planet it's more like focused, concentrated efforts. Of course, the ninth house is legal matters. Sometimes Mars retrograde in the ninth house, some of you have some legal matters they have to solve, or some theme of justice. If there is no justice about something, you might be fighting for the truth about something. You might be fighting actually in actual legal, institution, or you might be fighting with someone about the truth, your truth, trying to defend another or something like that. But you might be very proactive or very being active in a foreign country, but when it's retrograde, you might have to solve some issues with papers, documents, relocations, such kind of stuff for foreign countries as well. There might be some delay about that, but of course, Mars goes direct February 2023, and all those problems will start resolving themselves from 2025, the year 2025, February 23rd. And sometimes there can be some power struggles with the father figure because the ninth house rules that. But because it's making a trine, especially to the first 6-7 degrees of Sagittarius, I think more like whatever it's happening, Mars will be helping you that December in 2024. Maybe the energy will be more introverted, but again, it's a helpful energy and it's constructive, and it doesn't rub you in the wrong way. As stress you so much. So there we go. And of course, now we have to cover the planets: Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. What do we say about that? It's funny. Planets are activating so many different areas of your horoscope. But I just want to, before I go to Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, because the important ones are Jupiter, Mars, the nodes, and of course Saturn. What I'm trying to see is that, do you see how for quite a few years, both Jupiter and Saturn have been below the horizon for you? This is especially valid for ascendant sign prediction. Of course, Moon and Sun to a lesser degree, but still. You see how the planets have been below the horizon for you. The major players, Jupiter and Saturn, that determine your social status, how you unfold in society, your contributions there. Well, it's been more introspective time for a few years, more personal time, where you're taking more impressions, where you're not so out there. And now Jupiter starts, especially for Sagittarius rising, starts coming for the first time, dips itself above the horizon from the second part of the year. And gradually, and Saturn, you see, for the last 14 years, Saturn has been going down from its peak to its lowest part. It's building on foundations, emotional foundations for you now. I remember when Saturn was in my fourth house, I relocated to England for the first time, separated from parents. Saturn in fourth, going to a new place with $500, no work visa. It was very hard relocation, but very important, pivotal. And then Saturn is starting to climb up. And I remember by the time 14 years later, Saturn had climbed up on the top of the horoscope, when I had started at the bottom here, relocating to a new country from the zero, you're nobody, no rights, no money, nothing. 14 years later, I was on the top. My business, it was thriving. I had achieved what I wanted to achieve, way beyond. So you're starting one climbing process here over 14 years that will put you on top in about 14 years. But it's the beginning now. Even if you're at the bottom, don't worry. Doesn't mean you're not going to have, but you see Jupiter already starting to come up. So in about 1, 2, 3, 4 years, Jupiter will be on top of your chart. So you'll become more and more visible. Saturn is starting to climb up. Jupiter is starting to come above the horizon. So they're both moving upward direction. So what I'm trying to tell you, Sagittarius, you start to become more and more socially influential. And when planets are above and climbing up, you have more will you can make things happen more and to be recognized, and you start seeing more and more results. And Jupiter starting to become more and more visible. You're coming out of the darker part. This is below the Earth, all the planets below. So now this bright star Jupiter is starting to rise above the Earth gradually over 2024. Onwards after that, Jupiter for 6-7 years will be above the Earth for you. So you have big achievements, things developing and so on. But you're starting to come out and others to notice you and to bring your gifts to others and others to bring you their gifts and to recognize you and to help you. That's a bit like a summary, you see. But there will be also a lot of personal Mercury for business and for, Mercury is in fire signs, helping you constantly in business activities, in communications, for some very important communications and matters of practical and more mundane things to put them in order to organize. The Mercury is a manager, so you'll be managing your life better, organizing it more in 2024 and realizing more who you are, where you are supposed to be, questioning your future, the path you're going. First, Mercury will be retrograde in the 9th, then Mars will be retrograde in your 9th. Questioning and truly, retrograde planet helps you see things from a different perspective and see and really realign yourself to the right path, because these are the houses of your Dharma, the path that will bring you most joy and that you're here to do, that your soul is here to do. And now so that's like a summary for you. While you're working on with Saturn here in the 4th house on karmic, removing the karmic things that are holding you back in relation to your family in early childhood and ancestry, maybe even doing some final help for them and finishing something. As I said, Saturn transiting my 4th house was when I left my home and family, even though years later I'm coming back to help them and so on. But something big here that is ending some family karma. But you see, the planets Jupiter and Saturn, especially the second part of the year, will be angular. When Jupiter and Saturn are on angles, these are some of the most important years. Something will be shifting your life. It's like the wheel of fortune is spinning. When the planets go on angles, it's like weights that spin the wheel. So your life is not going to stay in the same place, will really spin. But because it might feel shaky, because it's like spinning a square wheel. Imagine being on a cart with square wheels. But it's spinning and it's moving and it's changing. Some pivotal events in your personal life, in relationships, and blah, blah, So very, very pivotal, important year for you, Sagittarius. I wanted to give you the summary so you can realize that what a important year it is and how it's, everything starts moving either above the horizon or upwards. And now quickly we need to mention Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. Uranus, Sagittarius, is not aspecting you. It's in the 6th house. It's going to join with Jupiter this year, so around April and May it will be strongest. That's where there can be a very big change in career or some sudden opportunities coming to you from the 6th house through employees or maybe getting a new pet or animal or some sudden breakthrough, because both Jupiter and Uranus are planets of liberation. Being freed from some obligation, being freed from some health issues, that's around April, May. Being freed from some work or job that is not, or service that is not good for you, but also brand new. Both Uranus and Jupiter, it's like having such clarity and knowledge. They rule divine knowledge. Uranus, Jupiter is angelic knowledge, like being clear about your duties and responsibilities and career or something about your health, getting clear answers of some sort. That's what I see can happen around the spring. But Uranus cannot give you any specific degrees because it does not make specific degrees transit for you in this. It does not make an aspect. It's in conjunct, which is not an aspect. So that's for Uranus. Neptune, though. Now, Neptune, if you are from 25 till 30 degrees in Sagittarius, 25 to 30 degrees in Sagittarius. You are not feeling Saturn yet this year. Maybe Saturn in the 4th house you might be feeling, but you're not feeling Saturn yet. You truly are on the Neptune the whole 2023. 4. Some of you already started to feel Neptune from 2023, especially if you're from 25 to 27 degrees in Pisces. But those who are from 27 to 30 degrees in Pisces will feel Neptune for the first time, and it will last 2 years. Now, all other transits that I'm talking about, you might not even feel them. You will feel down Neptune if you're from... Of course, you can feel Jupiter from the 7th house, and some of the others, but truly, the energy for the whole year for you will be Neptunian. That will be the background energy. Neptune square Sun, Moon, or Ascendant from the 4th house. It can be some big change at home, at family. It can be some big relocation connected to foreign places or oceans. There can be some problems with leaking of water, or water damage, or some molds or invisible things around the home, which is Neptunian energy. There can be some losses of family, of home, or letting go of family and home connections. This is way more... Saturn is very different energy than Neptune. You're having Neptune 4th house energy. And that's definitely relocations, very likely possible. I had a Sagittarius who experienced the Neptune square Sagittarius on 3 or 4 years ago, and he relocated where he's always lived in Portugal to over the ocean in Edinburgh. Very different, much wetter weather, which is Neptunian of nature, but he loved it. But those 2 years that Neptune was squaring his sun, he felt like unmotivated. His business that was in Portugal, he kind of got disappointed with it. He felt unmotivated. He started drinking. He's never drunk before. Neptune can be trying to escape reality in some way. So you have to be careful with vices not to succumb to them, but Neptune can also help you dissolve and become more aware of those things. But with Neptune, whether it's your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, there can be a sense of lack of motivation or feeling overly emotional, feeling it's yearning for something that is beyond your grasp and reach. And of course, there might be a lot of other developments in your life, but the overall feeling, the overall psychological atmosphere will be Neptunian, so you have to be, if you're 25 to 30 degrees and it's a more hard Neptune influence, you have to be careful not to be, if you are ascendant, for example, Neptune squaring your 1st house, 7th house, not to be misled by something, or maybe something looks too good to be true. Or there might be some kind of a loss of friendships or relationships or social contacts because of change of family and home circumstances and place of living. If it's your Sun, those degrees, Neptunian jobs can do better, like healers, artists, spiritualists, artists, Wow, if you're in a career that is very more mundane, more, what do they call it, like if you're working in a 9-to-5 job, in a corporate environment, you might lose motivation. It's kind of like, but even with spiritual jobs, sometimes Neptune definitely can feel like you're not in control of the situation and you have to release it and let go. Maybe do more spiritual activities, spend more time in nature, even take a break from career or work if it's possible for a little bit, not to push it. I know artists, for example, actors who became very famous when Neptune was squaring their sun, because Neptune is cinema and so on. But these are such more rare, like careers that are Neptunian. So with Neptune, more spiritual activities, releasing, letting go. It's a bit hard to control the situation, but it's also very spiritual and very mystical experiences you can have. You can have experiences that just take you on another level. How do I say, like astral travel, for example, I don't know. But Neptune, it's a good thing when you have so hard with the breathing. When you have hard aspect with Neptune is to to maybe travel a little bit, to go to spiritual places, to go to places of more But don't get lost there, because Neptune is also about losing. Or take yourself more break. It's like give priority to your soul more. And of course, always remember that Neptune can indeed bring soulmate-like relationships, soulmate-like experiences, fated. But because it's a square aspect, there is a possibility of being misled or being misleaded or not seeing things clearly. Just remember that. But very definitely you feel much more compassionate and emotional towards others and yourself as well. And then last but not least is Pluto. Pluto will affect only, it's basically moving again on the 20th of January into your third house. In the last year horoscopes, I spoke what it means to have Pluto transiting the third house for the next 20 years, which means that Sagittarius will become some force of power to be reckoned with and achieve over the next 20 years some mastery and power over others through the spoken and written words, through media. It can be a good direction for you as all Sagittarius to go anything to do with online businesses, media, communication, spreading information and knowledge, because you're going to have the power of Pluto, and you're going to have the most social impact on others through communication and talking over the next 20 years. And you can do some revolution, transformation over the next 20 years in that sphere. On a personal level, you can totally transform your relationships over the next 20 years. More meaningful, deep ones that but as well, it's possible to start some power struggles with relatives, with siblings, if one wants to dominate over the others. If not, they can be the most powerful ability to combine your energies together to achieve something in a small group environment to help each other. But specifically, Sagittarius, who's gonna feel this? Only the first 2-3 degrees Pluto. Sorry, Sagittarius. So if you're Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, from 0 to 3 degrees, you're going to have incredible support from Pluto starting this year, continuing into 2025. Pluto sextile your Sun, for example, can mean really good for your career. 0 to 3 degrees only. Those 3 degrees Sun Sagittarius can achieve something that they can over the next many years. It can be like a feat of willpower. Things will happen almost like magical. Mercury is, in astrology, in tarot, is like the magician, the magical touch of willpower. You want something, you see it, you have control over it. It's not like the later born Sagittarius, the last 5 degrees who are on the Neptune. Whatever they try to do, it's like beyond, it's like they have to let it go. It's beyond their control. This is Neptunian. It's like, oh, you're in the middle of the ocean with a boat with no oars. Whatever the tide takes, you have to accept this. The very early degrees of Sagittarius are the opposite. They're like whatever they can manifest things, they can focus on things. Some important male figure can come into your life that is, or figure that's very Scorpionian, but in a positive way, transformational, empowering. If it's so you can achieve some of your goals and strengthen your willpower and strengthen your physical body and health as well. If it's your ascendant on those first 3 degrees, it can definitely strengthen your appearance, your health, and some very important, developments in regards to starting something online or business or learning some knowledge or skill, because Pluto is in the third house, and also help and support those early 3 degrees ascendant can receive from siblings, relatives, associates, friends, mates, some tremendous support and upliftment. And those first 3 degrees of Sagittarius, they also can have a very Plutonian sexual relationship, because Pluto makes a trine to their 7th house of relationships, or some very auspicious materially successful business partnership that they can do that is empowering, that strengthens them, or at the same time they can have a sexual or intimate relationship that is Plutonian in a good way, transformational, deep, sexually intense, or it can just be kind of strengthening their relationship in a good way that can be beneficial, receiving support from others in some way. And of course, if it's your moon, your personal life, emotional relationships and family lives, very good. If you want to relocate, Pluto can help. If you want to, You can receive help from powerful women, or you can strengthen your hormonal health or an emotional psychological level. You can feel much stronger psychologically and emotionally. You can have deep, emotionally meaningful, more deeper relationships as well. Just those first 3 degrees. Pluto is really helping you. And with that, thank you so much. Sagittarius, you see, every type of Sagittarius can have totally different experience than another Sagittarius. One can be having Pluto empowerment and strength and things happening by magic. Another Sagittarius might be happening Neptunian kind of disillusion and retreating from the world. Another might be having Saturnian, be responsible, those the 3 to 20 degrees Saturnian responsibility, home, duties, or some restrictions they have to overcome, or more soldier-like discipline. And some might have the Mars energy, the first 3 degrees, the first 6 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's some battle and fight going on, but they're going through. It's a trine. They're pushing through. So fascinating, really. It can be, so each degree, basically, it's for Sagittarius, but everyone got a different reading depending on your degrees here. So thank you so much, Sagittarius, and I hope that was helpful for you.